Hey folks, welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant in New York City.
What's up, guys? Alan Jouban. We're coming to you live from Legoland. Yeah.
Hashtag baller.
Yeah, we're making it happen this week. We wanted to bring a show to you guys. There were fun fights. We didn't really do a traditional show last weekend, so we are making it work for you guys this weekend.
That's right. So after, obviously, UFC Newark came over here to Manhattan, so we're going to spend some time here doing some things. We went to see Tootsie today, which was absolutely amazing. I know maybe our MMA audience is not necessarily a Broadway audience, but that show was fan-freaking-tastic. Yeah, it was great.
That's awesome. We I don't know that show, but last time we were in New York, I took H to his first Broadway show, and he loved it. The family loved it. So I'm a fan of Broadway shows, and so that looks like a lot of fun.
Very cool. Well, obviously, I feel like the main focus of this podcast should be Colby, Robbie, and Kamaru. Basically, the trifecta of those. And obviously, listen, Ellen, this is your weight class. Kamaru is the champion. I'm not exactly sure what you totally expected in this fight. I know for me, I expected a different Robbie to show up. But I'd love to know your thoughts because I'm very curious what you were thinking.
How much time do we have?
I know.
Right? No.
As long as your battery lasts, baby.
I know. Yeah. We'll see how long that lasts. Interesting one. So I think a lot of the people probably had Colby Covington probably favored to win in this fight. If you're picking the safe bet, and a lot of people also probably had Robbie Lawler in their heart as the guy that they kind of wanted to win, just because you look at personalities. Who doesn't like Robbie Lawler? He's just a good, easygoing guy. Yeah. Colby Covington, on the hand, the exact contrast to that. Not a very likable guy, but we get it. It is kind of an act. Maybe some of it is, maybe some of it isn't. But he is playing the role, no matter how true it is or not. He's playing the role of the bad guy, so he's easy not to like. And so I thought it would be somewhat like this in terms of he would out-wrestle Robbie Lawler, and he would out-cardio Robbie Lawler. What I did not expect was for Robbie Lawler not to have that fire, to be able to pull the trigger, that lack of just going for broke that he did in this fight. And it really kind of bugged me. You saw the MMA world kind of respond. John Jones tweeted out, Robbie, you kind of let the world down. And I don't know. That. Tell me. Oh, John Jones tweeted that. He tweeted a picture of it of when Colby Covington was sticking his tongue out at Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler was kind of just standing there, dead face. And he said, man, like Robbie let the world down. In so many words, he said that. Yeah. And to be honest, I'm not sure how I take that in terms of that Robbie let the world down, or, man, we really wanted to see Colby get his face smashed, if you know what I mean. It was kind of an interesting take on it coming from John. But I want to get your take on it as well, Karyn, because you were there live. You were with Kamaru Usman. But Robbie seemed very different. The opening 10 seconds, he got punched, and he responded like old Robbie. Yeah. He let the guns go. He was blazing 100% power, trying to take his head off. And I go, oh, yeah, this is what we came to see. Right. And then after that first minute, Robbie of the old was gone. And it was a guy that was content with taking punches, content with rolling. We thought maybe he's waiting to the fifth round. Yep. We saw at the end of the fourth round, he asked his corner, he goes, fifth round, right? Last round, right? I go, okay. He was waiting for the round. But nothing changed. And I'm afraid that the fire might have been put out in Robbie's heart, that burning fire, that warrior spirit that we used to see inside the octagon.
Well, that would be sad if that's the case.
Yes.
I don't think he's lost the warrior spirit. I mean, part of it is, he's 37 and he's been in so many wars that it's sort of basically impossible that couldn't have taken something off him, right? But when we saw him, he came on our pre-show on Friday, and Robbie was Robbie, like you said, totally chill, whatever. He's the same guy, but like he was actually in a really good mood and had fun with us and smiled and laughed and stuff. And his demeanor made you. It was sort of like the regular Robbie, right? So like you said, the destruction and the kind of stuff that you expected to see. Colby was the favorite. It's basically like. I wasn't surprised by Colby's plan of attack. What I was surprised by was how effective it was. Like, he really just commanded the whole fight. And, Robbie, it was like he didn't give Robbie a lot of times to counterpunch, right? Like there wasn't a lot of opportunity for that, and he would work up here a little bit and then shoot and go down, And so Colby did a great job of mixing things up and mixing up the attack, and so you really couldn't. I'm sure Robbie was always like, well, where is he going next? Like up or down, up or down. And that's one thing that Rashad was talking about too. He's like, that the second guessing when you're afraid of somebody shooting on you, sometimes you can't let your hands going. We were talking all kinds of things about, and you're a southpaw, how that can be advantageous against a conventional fighter, but also what vulnerabilities that could open you up to. And he was sort of talking about Robbie's rolling style, and the way that style is it actually can sometimes make it easier to take you down, right? Because he was like, if your shoulders sort of rolled in and this, right. So
yes,
it's. I'm not surprised that that Colby landed as many takedowns as he did and stuff. And I agree with you. Like I kept thinking, maybe Robbie's just trying to wear him out. We know Colby's cardio is so good that maybe he was like, well, let me see how good it is. And yeah, like 4th and 5th round Robbie is the stuff of legend. So there definitely was a part of me that thought, yeah, maybe this is a plan. But then as the 4th round is like halfway through, you're like, dude, if this is your plan, it's really not working. It's like really not working, right? And so it was sort of a weird thing, right? It's like you see somebody like stuck in quicksand or something, right? Where like I kept thinking, what is Robbie's inner monologue right now? What is his inner monologue? Like, is he freaking out? Is he frustrated? Or is he as frustrated as his fans are? Like, that to me is something that I'm very, very curious about. I will say one thing I think is total and utter BS that people say he threw the fight or something, that he was paid. Like, I think that's just insane.
No.
I think he was beaten by a better fighter. Like, that's what happened.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said a great word right. I love that you said, what was his inner monologue? Yeah. I was thinking the exact same thing during the fight. And all I could do is put myself in his position if I was there. And I've been in positions like that where things just aren't working. But Robbie, he was taking the punches and he was rolling them. And he was doing a fantastic job of parrying and rolling. Right. But it doesn't matter. When somebody is continually punching 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, even if you're blocking 9 out of them, as long as the 10th one lands and he's throwing 10 at a time, you're losing the fight. Yeah. You've got to go. You've got to change it up. You got to mix it up. And I felt like he was just drowning himself in water right there. He just was in his inner monologue was like, I'm content with this. I'm content with this. I'm going to work my head movement. I'm going to parry as many as I can, and then maybe I'll throw a jab. I'm going to keep continuing doing it. And he never thought, let me change it up. Let me make an adjustment.
Didn't make adjustments.
Didn't make an adjustment. Didn't change it up. Didn't go for broke. Didn't try to end the fight. Look, something was a little bit off to me. And don't get me wrong. And I know our fans probably know this, but look, Robbie's in my weight class. If I fight him one day, it would be an honor. I love watching that guy fight since day one. Yeah. But something about this fight, and this is also an applaud to Colby, and because he did this, he made Robbie fight this way. Yeah. But I couldn't help but notice all the flaws in Robbie's game in this fight, and I don't know if it was just they were that standout, drastic in this fight, or it was just how good Colby Covington was that made it so obvious. But when you look at the reset button, the tail, Robbie has a big tail. Every time he resets, he has to do this with his gloves. He puts them and he plays with them, and he gets punched, and then he has to do this again, and then he wants to roll, and then he has to play with him again. And I kept screaming, Robbie, stop doing that. Get your hands away from him and just stay here. Stay. And then even some of his takedown defense, as good of a takedown defense artist as Robbie is, he wasn't working left, right off of the cage, getting his hips off of the cage. And even in the open shots, he was almost like trying to meet him with the hip. Sometimes when we sprawl, we'll meet him. Our hip will meet their shot, and we'll collide, and then we'll sprawl out. And he was trying to do that rather than just letting the impact happen and sprawling off of it. Just a different style of sprawling, but I didn't think the style that he was sprawling in the open was effective against Colby. I was wondering why he was trying to do such an impactful sprawl rather than letting them hit and then sprawling off of the reaction. So a couple little things I didn't like in the game, but I've got to say, we've got to applaud Colby.
Great performance.
Dominant he looked. Great performance against a great fighter. And I think as well as fun as the welterweight division has looked as of lately, and all the different possible matchups, this fight makes me want to see Colby Covington versus Usman. It does. It does. I think this puts him at the front of the line.
Yeah, for sure. And so here's the thing. So I agree with what you said. Obviously, you're the fighter and you know all that, the mechanics of what is happening. But yeah, overall, my take on the whole thing was this, like, Colby is in his fighter prime, right? I mean, and there's some things that you can't deny about age catching up with you or whatever. And Colby had a great game plan there. He knew exactly how to neutralize him. And maybe we can't take away the idea that Robbie used to be at ATT. They know him so well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like they can game plan against him and like, what are you going to do? So there's really nothing to say other than, I mean, he was outfought by a guy who fought him better that night. And Colby looked really, really good. So the thing with the interview, of course, is like, of course, usually the winners come on our post show. So we had planned this. So we had planned for Colby to come up if he won. We knew on Friday even when I was going to work in the morning, the security guys stopped me, security Steve and stuff and Kenny and stuff. And they're like, okay, KB, we're just going to let you know this is the plan. We're going to have a lot of security up there. It's basically going to be one, we're going to have Colby on your side instead if he wins. And, because usually the guest is next to the furthest analyst from me, and they would have been next to Kamaru. So he's like, he will not be next to Kamaru. We're going to have people here and there. We might even have somebody like under the desk. And he's like, we might have a man down by your legs. I was like, okay, like, I don't know that. Because, no, kidding. But I was like, okay, yeah. So so we knew that it was going to be like thick with security, right? And it was sort of like the idea of it is actually sort of fun too, right? Because we were like, oh, it's going to pop off. Like, what's happening? So anyway, of course, they had to have all this stuff in place. Dana, everybody's concerned that this is going to be taken care of well. They really don't want them taking swings at each other, but they do want the intensity of the two of them together. Yes. So when we knew, okay, once he wins, so they had a camera on Kamaru too. I don't know if you remember during the fights, like, there were times when they would shoot to the camera, up of us at our desk, and Kamaru was standing there and he's shadow boxing and this and that. He was so fired up watching this, and he is fired up to fight Colby. But so when he came up, it was really interesting because I had Antonina Shevchenko there, who, by the way, great performance from her as well. Gritty performance, dug it out, got a great submission. But we're talking to Antonina, and in my ear, they're like, okay, when Colby comes up, like, basically, whatever's going on, like, we got to wrap that up as fast as we can, right? To sort of minimize whatever could happen. So he comes up and they're like, okay, here he comes. And I can see him. And I'm like, okay, so Antonina's still on the mic. So I'm literally just trying to say goodbye to her. And I just started like narrating it because I was like, there's no way to do this without just doing the damn thing, right? And let's just talk. Yeah. So Colby comes in and then, and Steve's over there with Kamaru. And we got all these guys. And it was, at first it was fine. I mean, you could tell Colby was amped. Kamaru was amped. It really... But, like, I asked Colby a question right away. Like, I said, hey, that was a really great performance from you. Like, I think that's your best performance ever. And he said, I don't think so. He said, I had a cut. I'm trying to remember what he said. It said, like,
Forgot about that.
Yeah, he had a cut here. And he said, like, he got headbutted early in camp. And that he didn't actually get to train that much. So he said something like, he really didn't have as much training. And in my head, I'm like, well, maybe even if all you did was cardio, whatever it was, it worked, dude. Like, I thought that was his best performance. So I always think it's interesting when a fighter is critical and they don't think a great performance is a great performance. So I was like, I don't really know what else you could have done, dude. Like, that was really good. But then they just go at it.
Yeah.
And it was entertaining. Like, I don't know. I know some people like, it was such a shit show. And da-da-da-da-da. Like, I thought it was entertaining, and I thought that they did a good job of selling the fight.
I was watching it. I was trying to find it. I was like, how do I find this show again? Where is it at? I found it on – I went to ESPN. I went to YouTube. Yeah. It was entertainment for me. I wanted to see the reaction. I wanted to see what it looked like when the dynamic of them two getting together. I wanted to see the dynamic of Usman trying to play the professional role as analyst, but also trying to balance that with being a fighter. That's a very tough thing. Which side of him would take over? Obviously, the fighter side took over. But you said something. Another thing that reminded me is Colby Covington and the cut above his eye. Yeah. Look, my thoughts on Colby Covington haven't changed. He's a really good fighter. Don't care for him very much. But when I saw the cut of his, the picture of the cut on his eye, that he had gotten a pretty bad headbutt. I think they said it was like 12 stitches or something in his eye 3 weeks ago. No contact, obviously, after that. All you're doing is road work and shadow boxing. And to come in, I heard that he put on makeup so the commission wouldn't see it and he would get cleared the fight. Went in, didn't say a word about it, didn't even get opened up during the fight against Robbie Lawler. Went out there and opened the cut on Robbie Lawler's eye. And looked remarkable, as you said, probably the most dominant performance he's had, or one of his best showing inside of the octagon thus far, with that adversity that could really throw a lot of fighters off. So I have to applaud him. A tremendous amount of respect in terms of what he did and what he was able to accomplish with those speed bumps in the way. So it's intriguing. He looks really good. They obviously have the build-up. They already have the sound bites. They have. I mean, all they got to do is show the post-fight show over and over. And I mean, that's probably going to be the the UFC countdown show. It's going to be like showing you guys doing that. So it'll be fun, man. What did you think? What were you getting from the champ? What were you getting from Usman, from his reactions, watching him? Do you feel like it's genuine hate? Do you feel like because I just got to say before you answer the question, like, I didn't love it when Usman would like find the camera and like start undressing in front of the camera, like I'm here. Right. I was like, man, look at Colby. If these are real feelings, look at Colby and tell him. Don't look at the camera. You know what I mean? So I'm nitpicking, but I'm saying like the way he played it, I thought it was a little bit self-embellishing to like stare at the camera the whole time because that's what we're looking at. We're seeing on Usman on TV, and we're seeing Colby pointing up at him or whatever. Right. But what was your take on sitting to the side and having your co-anchor going to battle at the same time? What was that like? Yeah, well, it was it's funny because the champ should be afforded a certain amount of whatever, right? So you're right. He's the champ and he's working the desk. So in my head, I think he has the power position, right? And he can maybe be afforded a little bit more leeway or a little bit more gratuitous, whatever, because he's the champ. You're right. And he's a challenger. But what's funny to me is that I hand to God, I believe I was very neutral in that fight, in that interview. Like, I did not pick a side. You were what? I did not pick a side, right? Clearly, I know Kamaru better. He's my friend. I like him. I've known him since The Ultimate Fighter. Obviously, this is somebody that I work with. He's my work teammate, right? So I'm going to have a camaraderie with I'm going to want to support my teammate. That said, Colby is a terrific fighter. I've actually known Colby for a little while. Knew Colby before he was the Colby the heel, right? Yeah, exactly. Interviewed him before. He was just a regular dude. He's a regular dude, right? So, like what you just said, I don't agree with a lot of things he said. I don't agree with a lot of things he does. That doesn't really matter. Who cares what I think about what he does outside of the octagon? It's unimportant. It doesn't matter, right? So, I respect him as a fighter. That's who I'm talking to when I'm there. That's who I'm talking to as a fighter. So, it's funny to me, because I think that they both had moments where they both looked great. And then I think there were both moments where they looked like, fifth grade schoolyard. Do you want to go? I'm going to go. Do you want to go? I'll go anytime. Go. Do you want to go? I'm totally ready to go. Right now, hold me back. I'm going to go. Now. Are you going to go? I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I know. I was a little, I'm not going to lie. I was eating it up, but I was a little bit, oh no, there you go. You get all too excited. I just knocked over my phone here. Hold on. All right, we back. There you go. We're back. Are we still live? Are we back on the air? Yeah. There was a couple of moments when they were like, Usman was taking off his coat and stuff, and I'm like, come on, guys, like let's talk now. I want to hear the verbiage. I don't want you guys to do some more pissing contest stuff. But it was fun. It was entertainment, and as we said, it's the build up for the fight. It totally was. And so I enjoyed it. And also, I guess one point I'm getting at is I've seen some things like some people have tweeted to me or commented to me, not a lot, but all the Colby's hardcore fans have basically like created this narrative, right? Because they were like, you hate him and you're so biased and this and that, and I'm like, okay, did you watch the interview, or is this like just this thing you have in your head? Because if you watch the interview, the very first thing I do is praise him and compliment him on his performance. At one point in the kind of early on when he was standing there, I don't know, maybe he was a little nervous. Like,
people get nervous on TV, and he's amped up. He's got a lot of adrenaline. I don't know what's going on in his head. I'm not going to try to pretend to know. But he was kind of a little far away. At one point, I'm like, put my hand on his back. I'm like, no, Colby, come on. We need you a little closer. You know, I'm looking, and somebody said something. They were like, oh, you kept looking down your nose at Colby. Like, you can see I go, I'm looking because there's a flag around his shoulder. And I'm like, pretty sure that flag shouldn't touch the ground, right? I'm like, literally, so every now and then I would look down. Now, granted, I can't really do anything about it because I like on the air and I'm not going to like bend over and whatever. But like, there's things going on that I do look around and see. And so somebody was like, yeah, you just looking down your nose at him and you have so much disdain. And I'm like, there's a flag. I don't think the flag is on the ground. So it's not about that. It's not about this. And so the other thing that people are freaking out about, they're going back and forth, back and forth. And Colby's like, you've never even knocked out anybody. Who have you ever knocked out? And I knew who he knocked out. It was Sergio Moraes. So I go, Sergio Moraes, right? Like, just like that. And then Colby's like, yeah, but whatever. Who cares? Who is he anyway, right? Okay, but fine. So all I did was state a name. And then people are like, oh my God, you're so biased. You saved your, Kamaru was drowning. And I'm like, my job is to know fight information. If I have fight information, I'm going to share fight information.
We spoke about that exact same fight on the podcast at your house, I remember, because I was shocked. We were both shocked that Usman didn't get a bonus in that one. He knocked the guy out. Fast. The guy did a front roll on it during his knockout, and I think there was no bonus awarded. Now I was shocked. That was when Usman was still on the climb to the top. But, it's funny you mentioned the flag because I was watching some of the highlights on social media of the ending of I think it said, like, when the cameras were off, these two were still going at it. Right. And as Colby was leaving the desk, I could see a hand, like, go to touch his shoulder. And I'm like, is that Karyn's hand? And I watched it like 5. What were you doing? What were you doing? It looked like you were like.
Well, I was trying to help him out. Flag? It wasn't just the flag, but he's walking away, and what happens is he had the headset on, which is mic'd. Oh. It's a hard line under my mic. So when he first comes onto the set, you see me like going under the table, kind of. Not for the man under the table. No, there was no man under the table. I'm kidding. But the cord is under there, so I kind of leaned down because I needed to sort of, and they had it over here, so. It happens to a lot of our guests. They have the headset on, they forget, and they're like, all right, cool, peace out. And then they start to walk away, and it'll yank you back and whatever. I have no idea what kind of, if he's feeling injuries, even though he won like Robbie cracks, right? Maybe Colby's neck doesn't feel that great. He's like so caught up in the moment and he's leaving. I know he's not thinking about that headset. So yeah, I'm trying to like reach out and grab it because I'm like, that's going to hurt. When it yanks you back and like it's gonna suck. Like that sucks. Like so I didn't want that to happen is really what I was doing. Yeah. Gotcha.
I watched it a couple of times and I could see your hand brush his shoulder and then the security kind of takes over. And I was like, Karyn is up to something. There's a reason behind this. She wouldn't randomly be like flicking his shoulder.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't flicking his shoulder.
I could not figure it out, but I'm glad you cleared it up.
I was trying to save him from like whiplash from getting his head knocked back. But it was interesting, right? Because just to clear the record, I don't hate him, right? Like if you really hate somebody, I guess, and I don't mean to sound like I don't want to hate somebody. It means you think about them a lot, right? And you like it's like a burning passion in your life. It's like. He's not that important in my life to hate him, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a fighter. I think he's a very good fighter. I deal with him when I have to deal with him for fighting. Otherwise, I really don't think about it. Like, it's not. It is what it is.
Well, I mean, I don't think you're alone on it either, though. And even if we have fans or whatever that are Colby supporters, I mean, I think the common feeling about Colby is that he's more disliked than liked. So, I mean, it shouldn't even be that big of a deal. But I get what you're saying. Obviously, you don't hate him. I don't hate the guy. But, I mean, is he a little bit obnoxious? Is he a little bit cringy? Yes. Does he play the bad guy role? Yes. So do people majority not care for him? Yes. I mean, it's the obvious thing. He plays it up. So I don't think people and look, he's the one that was just saying. And look, I got to say, I don't care for Colby, but he's been getting some points on my card. Yeah. Like I said, the cut thing, look, I will always respect the guy when fighters are fighters like that and they do things that like just get to the fight and they don't bitch and complain about there's certain things, and the whole putting the makeup on it so the commission didn't say anything when they examined him, or the doctor didn't stop it when they examined him before the fight. Like, I love stuff like that. So congrats to him. Big ups on that. Great fight. And then there was something else. Oh, afterward, even though he has some cringy moments on the microphone,
the Matt Hughes thing I didn't like.
I didn't hear the Matt Hughes thing. You were gonna have to enlighten me on that. I didn't hear that. But he was referring to the Matt Hughes thing. Yeah. But I did like how he's saying, like, something about, look, we get in there and we try to kill each other. So if I say something mean about somebody, toughen up, snowflakes. Right. And I kind of enjoy that he's kind of like saying, you know what, stop being such little, sensitive people, because the world is a little bit overly sensitive right now. I can respect that. With that said, obviously Matt Hughes is somebody that I'm a friend that not only we all respect, but I'm friends with Matt Hughes from way back in the day. And I don't know what the comment was, so please let me know.
Well, it was weird because I initially didn't hear it either, right? Because as soon as the main event ends, like, I'm on my headset, I'm talking to my directors and producers, like, I'm busy as soon as that decision gets read. But it was basically, he made some analogy about not standing in the way of a freight train like Matt Hughes did. You know what I mean? And it was a weird thing to say. But then Matt Hughes actually tweeted something out, like he was okay with it, like, because he's like, hey, we're in the fight game, we can't, we got to have thick skin, and he likes Colby or something, so he took it okay. But in the moment, like I said, I didn't hear it in the moment, but when I heard what he actually said after, I was like, oh, that sounds bad. I didn't really like that. But it's funny, I want to backtrack on one thing for a moment, though, when you were talking about being offended and the snowflakes and stuff. The funniest thing is that all the people who have written to me and they're upset are like his fans that are acting like snowflakes, being upset that I allegedly was, saying this or like, so the whole name calling snowflake, who gets their feelings hurt thing is very funny to me, because a lot of his supporters are the ones that seem more fragile than others when it comes to that. Like, it's kind of weird. I don't know.
How was that? Was there a lot of red hats in the crowd that night? Was there a lot of...
There were the two Trumps there. Eric and Donald Jr. were there.
I saw that,
Yeah, so they were like directly below our where our platform was. So I saw them, and, obviously they were flanked with security and stuff. And a couple points during the night, like they would get up and take pictures with people in the audience. So, I mean, there are definitely a lot of supporters there. Definitely a lot of Colby fans and stuff there. So, so they were there. But my question to you is, who do you think wins, right? Because Colby was saying, look, Kamaru doesn't have a lot of power, and we do know he did knock out Sergio, obviously, and I guess Kamaru has like three other knockouts or something, outside of the UFC. And this was my one critique of Colby when I was doing the post show with Rashad. I said, hey, not for nothing, and he threw so many strikes, and it was like a 247 or something like that, significant thrown, and the margin was so much bigger than what Robbie threw. I said, but with all that said, and I swear to God, not trying to be disrespectful, but shouldn't Robbie have been a little more damaged? You know what I mean? If somebody threw 250 significant strikes at you, the fight, I would think, would have been over, or that there would be more damage, right? And so that's the thing I think is his weakness. Is the punching power, I guess, where other welterweights, and if Robbie had landed on, we saw what happened when Robbie did land on him or whatever, you could see the impact. I guess that's the only thing I think could inhibit him, if he ever wins the title again, of like reigning a long time. When you think of somebody like Tyron's power, when you think of, some of these other people's power, I think punching power may be the one hole that he has in his game.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely, and I don't want to say it's a hole in his game.
Maybe not a hole, but yeah.
But you know what? We'll take the word hole in his game, because we're not talking about as a fighter. We're talking about when you putting the top 3 or 4 welterweights in the world in a category. These are all very similar guys. When we look at Woodley, when we look at Usman, when we look at Colby. They're all very similar. They're all wrestling-based fighters who have improved their striking, and they're very well-rounded. But they're different. And Tyron is very much known for his punching power. He's got the wrestling, but he's known for his power, his explosiveness. Colby is a wrestler, but he's known for his cardio, his diversity of mixing the punches together. I think the difference that Usman has on both of them is a little bit of both. Usman has the punching power if he chooses to use it. He has the cardio if he chooses to use it, which he does.
Yeah.
But I think he's the bigger, stronger guy in the middle of both the guys. Not saying Tyron isn't as strong as Usman, but we saw what happened when they locked up.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that Tyron had an off night. I don't know if that really happened, but let's just say he did have an off night mentally. But it doesn't mean that an off night when they entangled each other, it was Tyron's back on the cage. So I think it shows you that Usman, off night or not, Usman's going to be the stronger guy in the clinch with Tyron. And I would believe the same thing would happen 100% against Colby. Colby probably has more scrambles because he's not worried about getting tired, so he can chain wrestle over and over and over. So it's a little bit of a triangle that you have, a circle of, you know, MMA mathematics, which doesn't really work. But I would say that Usman is somewhere in the middle where he has the cardio and he has the power, and that's why he's able to compete with both guys very well. Colby's a threat, though. He's a threat. Yeah. And let me say this as well. Colby does have power, but he doesn't use it a lot of times in his fight because he doesn't have substantial knockout power, but he's obviously a big, strong guy who can hit hard. Right. But he chooses to only hit because he's only trying to
work his way in.
Pity pat to work his way in.
Yeah.
And then especially in this fight, he actually made a very good adjustment. Robbie Lawler was so much in the Mike Tyson peekaboo type of movement that you could see. I remember one time Colby threw 10 jabs in a row, and Robbie was just trying to see how many he could slip, And so Colby did another 10 jabs in a row, and Robbie kept trying to see how many he could slip. And I go, I get it. If you have a moving target, you're not unloading at all. You're just going touch, and it becomes a game. How many times can I hit the button that blinks, you know? And that's the mindset that Colby had. So I agree with you. He doesn't have the power to compete with power hitters in the elite welterweight division, but he did adjust his striking to the type of fight that needed to be that he needed to fight against Robbie Lawler in that fight. If that makes any sense to you, you know, he did make an adjustment there.
No, for sure. He's figured out a way to make that part not that important, I guess, right?
Yes, because he's still going to hit you. He's still going to throw you off your game, and he's still going to set up the takedown. So he doesn't really care if he knocks you out or not.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting. So when you were asking me before about like what did Kamaru think? What was his take on the whole evening? He said one thing that I thought was pretty funny. In the evening afterwards, he was like, "Oh man, it's like I am gonna love going to the gym every day." He's like, I am gonna love training for this fight, because he's like, sometimes you're there and it's a fight and it's your job and it's your this and you have certain motivations, but sometimes when you go to the gym it's a grind and it's a this and it's that. He's like, but to think that at the end of the day I'm gonna get to punch that dude, you know what I mean? And so he was saying that he was going to be more inspired to fight Colby. When we talked about November, Kamaru definitely said he'll be good to go by the end of the year. And so I was like, okay, well, how does November sound? And I think he thinks he can do that. I don't know if that, because Colby kept mentioning Madison Square Garden. We know it's November 11th or 4th or whatever. So based on the vibe I got from them, that looks like that could be a possibility. It does seem like it could be a possibility. So I hope it happens. Like you said, they don't need a countdown show. Just run that interview like on a loop or whatever. There were, like I said, there was a couple times when they both got their digs in. There was one when he was like, Colby got a couple of good lines, and I was like, all right, that was pretty good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty funny. And then Kamaru would get one. I was like, well, that was pretty good too. Like, I don't know who like won the interview. I think a lot of people think Colby won the interview too, but I'm not really sure who won the interview. But I enjoyed it, and it was. It is fun. Like I said, we knew the security guys would be there, and we knew it was going to turn into a spectacle, and there were a bunch of fans, watching and stuff too, with us. And there is something special about like knowing that you're in a significant moment in MMA history or something like that, right? Yeah. Not saying 50 years from now this will be the biggest thing in the world, but like the moment, the whole Trump association, who Colby is, all this other stuff, like it there's a lot going on, and I literally, I'm not gonna lie, there was a part of me in my head when I'm doing this interview, I was like, holy crap, like Donald Trump's probably gonna watch this interview. Like, that's weird. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
that's weird.
You just set up my next conversation that I wanted to have with you, which is great. So thank you for doing that, because I was gonna set it up by saying, I want to keep this as non-political as possible, but I love that you said it, because there is something special about it. And I know my agent, Jason, would be mad at me for this, because he's not a fan of Donald Trump at all. But having the presidential family and that involved, love them or hate them, wherever side you stand on, having them involved in the sport, it puts more eyes on the sport. There is something special about it. If you don't like the person or not, we're not getting to that. We're not talking politics, but having people like that, if you have a royal family, you have a presidential family, you have those type of people tweeting about the sport, coming to the shows, watching the fights, picking favorites, supporting people. It's a special thing, and it just kind of shows, like you said, it's an interesting thing to think. Donald probably will maybe see that show. I'm sure the Colby's people are going to send it to him.
Of course.
The post-fight speech in the octagon, I think the first thing he did was thank the Trump family for being there. And so it's very interesting to see where the sport is going now. That, I mean, politics are getting so heavy in social media, and now they're getting involved in the UFC. It's an interesting thing, and it's a big thing for the sport.
Yeah, Colby shared a video because I guess Trump called him, and they spoke backstage for a little while. They spoke on the phone, and so it was just it was just a weird thing to be, like you said, like, because Colby will like send it to him or whatever, and his sons are there, and I just was like, this is just strange. Like, it's just weird, it's just weird. I would have preferred Mr. Trump to talk about El Paso and the horrible gun violence rather than our fights.
But did that, timeline-wise, had that happened yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Saturday. What night was it? Was the
Saturday?
Shooting?
Oh, and there was another one on Sunday.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it's the new one today.
Yeah.
No, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the war right now. A lot of bad things.
And in the manifestos, they quoted fake news and go back to your country and stuff like that. But hey, we're keeping this not political.
Yeah, exactly. Let's steer away from it. I know it is an emotional time with the shootings, especially the one in California recently as well. Everything going on, but we'll keep it MMA based today.
Yep. Well, so anyway, in summation, really a great performance from Colby. I literally think it's the best performance he's ever had, whether or not he agreed with that. I actually like when fighters are critical of their performances, but at the same time, I was like, dude, no, take a moment. Like, you kind of crushed it tonight. Like, you should, I'm sure he is happy, right? Like, I'm sure he's happy with the performance, but I'm like, that was pretty great. Like, all of that other stuff aside, like I said, my job is to speak to the fighter, and I commended that performance. It was really incredible. So,
I think a bit what he was doing, he was almost taking a page out of Usman's book. He was saying that, that was only my 30%. He thinks that he could do better. He hasn't yet peaked. And I think that's what he was trying to convey to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be interesting when they do meet up. I don't know what the next step is for Robbie. I think you mentioned something earlier, though, about it's not unusual for people to be more fans of Robbie than they are for Colby. To that point, Wade was backstage, shot interviews with all the winners for the night. Some of them are up on MMAHeat.com right now. Some of them are on our MMA Heat YouTube channel. So he got everybody. But the Robbie interview took off immediately, right? The Robbie post-fight interview, like at this point, tonight earlier I looked or something, it literally had I think 3 times as many views, right? And Robbie lost. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and maybe that's more interesting to hear from a defeated fighter, or I don't know. Yes. But the fact that the losing fighter had X amount of times more views than the winner does say a lot.
It's the same thing I would want to know too. I want to know what was in his head. And Robbie was Robbie. I mean, I didn't see the entire interview, but I saw the little bit of social media clips, and Robbie was just respectful and commending Colby on a good fight. Yeah, he did a good job. I just really couldn't get him, back to the drawing board. And I was just like, damn it, Robbie. snap out of it, man. Like, where's that beast that's inside of you? You know, like I wanted to just, you know, I want to see it, but he's a good guy. And
he's a great guy.
He is who he is, man. And so I will never fault him for that, and I will always be a fan of him because of that. But yeah, you know, you want to see that 35 seconds of offense that he had on Ben Askren.
Right.
You want to see that throughout the entirety of all his fights. And so when you don't get that, you question what's wrong.
For sure. Well, how much battery do you have left on your phone?
It's going down every second that we talk.
Okay. Well, otherwise, we already mentioned Antonina. I was impressed with her. Other than that, Nasrat Haqparast, that dude, Baby Gastelum, is the future. Okay. I'm loving this kid. Bringing out George St. Pierre and George, like, I was like, come on, man. Nasrat's, and we met him after, like, good dude, nice kid. He's like 23 years old. Mm-hmm. He has a very bright future.
Yeah, long arms. He throws a mean left. It's like watching that punch land. It was so beautiful, so smooth. It's like he oils up his shoulder blades, because my shoulder wouldn't move like that. My shoulder's got some bone fragments floating around there. But the way he threw that, man, I was like, God dang, he got some oiled up shoulders, man. He's got a good hands. He's with a good camp. Got GSP in his corner. Yeah. I'm a fan as well. That fight right there kind of put him on my radar.
Yep, I was happy for him. I was surprised at how quickly Jim Miller beat Clay Guida. I actually kind of thought we were going to dig in for a little while on that fight. Yeah. The fact that Jim finished that so fast, and by the way, what a lovely guy he is. I mean, I've known that, but you know, we spoke to him both on the pre-show and the post-show and stuff, and he's just such a good dude. Like, quality guy, we're so respectful, this and that, but like money when it comes to what he needs to do on fight night.
I agree. Just his post-fight interview inside of the octagon after the fight, I applauded him as well. He was just very poised with his words and respectful and beautiful performance above all that. And I don't think he got a bonus. Did he get a bonus? I thought that.
Do you know what? I'm not even sure who the bonuses were, because we didn't get that in time for the show. And then today I
saw what's his name? Schnell.
Matt Schnell. Yeah, good dude.
Danger. Too. Matt Schnell. Another Louisiana boy. Yeah. He had a great finish. Totally. Got a triangle. He got one. I don't know the other one. And then I think Baby Gastelum got
maybe Haqparast too.
I think Baby,
Fight of the night went to Antonina, actually. She got fight of the night.
Okay, so that was fight of the night. I think Baby Gastelum, that's how I know his name, got the other bonus, and then Snell got Snell. And I thought, and man, I hate to say this because Snell's a Louisiana boy, and I'm super happy for him. He announced that he's having a baby. I thought it was a dope performance. He's a Louisiana boy. Great transition to that triangle. Yeah. I think the baby thing is what topped it, because if you look at both submissions, I thought Miller's was much more impressive. Like tapping out Guida, like after getting cracked and then cracking him back and then choking out. Like that shit was that was fire. And so I was like, damn, like you tap out Guida and you don't get the bonus. But I think what it was is they were both great submissions. Yeah. Snell kind of minced throughout the baby thing. I'm not mad at it. My man from Louisiana got a bonus and he's having a baby. He could use the money. Jim Miller has enough bonuses. But I thought if you're looking at it from afar, I'm like, that was a sick submission. Like that was bonus worthy. Hopefully Dana did like he did with the fight with me when you called it out at the Staples Center and he threw Miller like 40 G's under the table or something, because that was a great fight.
It was. Well, and now that you say that, right? Like, because Jim Miller, I believe before Saturday, to that point, had already had 10 performance bonuses. So that's potentially $500,000 if all the bonuses back in the day were 50 G's. I don't know if they were always 50 G's or what, but like potentially $500,000 in bonus money is pretty badass.
Bonuses. This is like your tips, right? You're counting out your tips. This isn't even your salary. This is your tips. Like,
you're that good.
It's a great thing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. And so, also, like I said, so Wade has interviewed everybody after, has all the interviews. So some of them are on MMAHeat.com. Some of them are on the MMA Heat YouTube channel. Otherwise, your boy Mickey Gall. Okay, so Mickey, what a nice kid, right? What a nice kid.
Good
so
fight.
We were talking, and he says, hey, he says, what's up? You guys train together. And he was just like, I'm happy at home in Jersey. I'm happy being here. My sister's been taking me out running every day, kicking my butt and everything. But like, what a nice kid, and I was happy for him to get the win. Like, so both Jim and, you know, Mickey being Jersey boys,
Yes.
got the win
Jersey
in front of
animals.
their hometown. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was good, man. Yeah, that was a good fight for Mickey. He's been able to run through a lot of people in his career, and some of the opponents were good opponents for Mickey.
Right.
He was able to get him down real quick and do what he does. Obviously, coming off of his last fight, he took that loss to heart.
Yeah.
He said he was sick or something, so it played a factor in the fight. He wanted to come out and show that wasn't the real him, and he did that. He not only looked very good, he got a little tired, but like when you talk about how gassed he was in his loss to Diego Sanchez compared to now, he was fatigued. But you know, everybody gets fatigued. They get fatigued every fight.
Yep.
But I like the way that he just kept pushing forward, even when there was like 10 seconds left and he already pretty much won the fight. There was like a scramble that ensued, and he still wanted to get the last couple of punches in before the bell rang, and it showed me, okay, he's still got that dog in a fight, you know, or he's learning to be more of a dog in a fight rather than if I can't run through someone, then what do I do? He knows now, like with experience. Let's not forget the guy's fighting on the biggest stage in the world, and he's only got like less than 10 fights.
Yeah, not a lot.
So he's still learning. But as I told you before, he's a tough guy to deal with in the gym because when you get his guillotines or his darces and his rear naked chokes are high level black belt level. You're at 90% finish rate when he's got you in one of those two positions, and his striking is really tough because you get that young lion aspect.
Right.
It's just taking what he does in the gym and learning when to do it with momentum and changes and adjustments inside the octagon. And we saw that adjustment Saturday night out of Mickey Gall. So he looked really good. I applaud him on that performance.
Yeah, really. And it's funny because I told Rashad and Kamaru exactly that, what you told me, because I remember you saying that to me before about training with Mickey, and you were like, dude, if he gets you on the ground, like, you're probably going out. Like, he's good.
He's good.
Yeah.
He's got those two. When he's on your back, he puts people to sleep all the time. I was really surprised that his opponent did a very good job of staying alive in those positions.
Yep. He did. Tuari, he did. All right, well, cool. I know tomorrow you got a big day taking the little man to Legoland.
Yeah. You're going to Broadway. I'm going to Legoland. What is going on here?
Yeah, no, we're having a good time. So we're going to go see some more. We'll probably see some more shows. It's funny because, like, you know, I used to live here, so I love it. But there's, like, certain things that I like to do. But, you know, I'm with family, so there's, like, we all got to come together and figure out what we're all going to do together. But, like, you know, there's, like, well, I definitely got to eat at this restaurant, and I definitely got to go over to that spot, and this and that. And you're like, wait, how much time do we have? Like, I'm just going to be eating all day long, right? Because you just want to make sure. There's a lot
of fun things to do.
But at least you walk it off. That's what I'm trying to imagine is.
You're right.
We're walking.
You do that in New York. There's a lot of time to walk it off in New York. I find myself walking miles and miles and miles. Where in LA, I don't want to walk more than a block.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, and obviously this weekend, Valentina Shevchenko is defending against Liz Carmouche. That's the Uruguay card. It's on ESPN Plus, I believe. I forget exactly what time. I'm not going to Uruguay. Unfortunately, I think that would have been a cool trip. But I'm actually excited because Liz Carmouche beat Valentina Shevchenko. I don't know if a lot of people know this. Like, it was back in like 2016 or 14.
Oh, wow.
Like, so a while ago. It was a doctor stoppage. It was like a TKO doctor stoppage or whatever.
Didn't know.
I think Valentina is one of the greatest, if not, you know, like, she's phenomenal. Like, just phenomenal. So I'm very much looking forward to that fight, though. So that is this weekend. But until then, on Instagram, I'm KB H.E.A.T. On YouTube, Karyn Bryant. Also remember to subscribe to YouTube at MMA Heat as well for all the stuff that Wade shot there. And 2 weeks from now, you know, we'll go to UFC 241, 2 or whatever with DC and Stipe and stuff. So we'll crank out a lot of stuff for that as well. So people may as well just subscribe now. And then, Karyn Bryant on Twitter and stuff. So where can they find you?
Sounds good. I'm at Alan Jouban, guys, across the board, all social media platforms. I will be at that Anaheim card as well with DC, doing a little thing for Modelo. So hopefully.
Oh, nice.
Are you working that event?
No, we're covering it for this for MMA Heat. So I'm not working it for ESPN. So I'll be buzzing around. But the cool thing is like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I got my badge. That's just like, I'm going over here now. And now I'm going over here, and I'm gonna do this over now. So I, you know, but yeah. So we'll be cranking out like post fight interviews and stuff. It'll be fun.
When you need a drink, I'll be at the Modelo booth, so you'll know where to find me.
Yes, because I'm only semi-working, and I might need to have a beer.
There you go. Cheers.
We'll see. Exactly. Well,
Good times.
Alan, I'm glad we were able to crank this out. And folks, thanks for tuning in. These are also available as audio downloads at mma.audio. So thanks for checking out the show, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.